My name is Dr. Shuaib Mohammad Bhat. I am working as an assistant professor in the Department of English at Institute of Aeronautical Engineering, Hyderabad. Today in this video lecture, I shall be discussing about writing introduction and conclusion for various writings, for different types of writings. What is the role and importance of introduction and conclusion in different writings? This is our topic. This is the topic of discussion today. See, writing a compelling introduction and conclusion is crucial for any piece of writing, whether it is an essay, report, or presentation. So, whatever you are writing, whether it is an essay, it's a report, it's what sort of a piece of writing it is. So, every type of writing, it requires an introduction and conclusion. Because you see, introduction and conclusion, they are going to play a very vital role in every writing. Sometimes there are readers who do not have much time to read your script, your research proposal, your report, your essay, anything which you have written. So what they are doing, they are simply going through the introduction only, because your introduction is telling them what all is dumped in your report or in your writing. So introduction should be written, it should be written with extra care, extra attention, because it is going to discuss, or it is going to be introducing you, it is going to introduce you to your readers. Same is the case conclusion. And there is another group of people who do not believe in the introduction, they believe in conclusion. So what they are doing, they are reading conclusion only, because they know the function of the conclusion is to summarize all the main elements, all the key elements at the end. So there is a bunch of readers who only read conclusions, because they believe that conclusions, they carry and they contain all the exact and required information in a paragraph or in any piece of writing. So writing introduction and conclusion is one of the important tasks, and is one of the tasks which requires extra care and extra attention. Now here are certain tips, here are some tips and examples for crafting effective introductions and conclusions. What are these different effective tricks? What are these different tips which can help you to write an effective introduction and conclusion? Let's see. For the introduction, I would like to go first. I would like to tell you one thing. When you are writing an introduction, it's always better to start with a hook. By hook, I don't mean anything by which you captivate anything, means anything illegal by which you captivate anything. By starting with a hook, I mean engage your readers from the beginning with a compelling hook. Now, what is this compelling hook? It can be an anecdote. It can be a quotation, it can be a saying, it can be a story, or it can be a question. These are the different things by which you can start your introduction. And these are the things which are going to engage your readers from the beginning with a compelling hook. You can engage your readers from the beginning, because introduction comes at the beginning. So when you are writing anything, when you are writing introduction, so you need to start your introduction with a hook. You need to start your introduction with a bait, by which you can make your readers hooked, by which you can just make your readers spellbound. You will capture their attention and you will make them captivate so that they can read all your content. So it's always better when you are starting to writing an introduction, it's always better to start your introduction with a hook. For example, see, there is an example of writing an introduction. Did you know what the world's population is expected to reach 9 billion by 2050? This staggering growth possesses significant challenges for global food security. Now see, the introduction has been started with a question, but it's an interesting question. Everybody would love to read what comes after this, because it's showing us a very amazing fact. Did you know that the world's population is expecting to reach 9 billion by 2050? So we are getting a fact here which is amazing. And then this staggering growth possesses significant challenges for global food security or food scarcity. So this is how you can start your introduction with a hook. These are the statements, or this is one of the statements which can make your audience spellbound. So when you are writing an introduction, it is always better to start with the hook. Start with a story. Start with an anecdote. Start with a quote, so that you can make your readers spellbound. The next point for effective introduction is provide background information. It's always better, or it's offer relevant context to set the stage for your topic. So when you are writing anything, it's important for you, it's better to offer a stage or offer a context, offer relevant context to set the stage for your topic. When you are writing any topic, you should always introduce the background knowledge. You should give some background knowledge, some background information regarding the topic. Because when you talk about the background information, when you include background information in your introduction, so you are making the way very easier for you to write the compelling or effective introduction. Because this background is helping audience to understand you. This background is supporting the introduction to stand as an anchor of the written material, to stand as a guide for the readers to check what is coming in the next paragraphs. So it's always important that you start your introduction, with the background knowledge, or proper background or background information regarding the topic you will give in introduction. For example, in the ever-evolving landscape of technology, artificial intelligence has emerged as a transformative force reshaping industries and societies. If you are writing on the impact of AI or on the impact of technology, so you can start like this. It's a kind of background information regarding technology and AI. When you speak in the ever evolving landscape of technology, AI has emerged as a transformative force. You're talking about its emergence. That's background. It's not a new topic to the people which they are going to understand. So you talk about its emergence. You talk about its place in everybody's life. You are speaking that it has emerged as a powerful or transformative force which shapes or reshapes industries and societies. So when you write like this, it means you are giving background information regarding the topic. And background information is always helpful and suitable for an introduction. Because when you start your introduction with some background information, it becomes easier for readers to follow the write-up, to read the whole write-up, because they have got the clear signals from the introduction, what is the whole topic about, and how it emerged and where from it came. So this is how you can start your introduction, and this is how you can make your introduction more compelling and more spellbound. So the point is provide background information. Background information is helpful to make your introduction more compelling and to make it more effective. Then we have next point, that is state the thesis purpose. It means state your main point or purpose of your writing. Thesis purpose means purpose of your writing. So it's always important for every writer, when you are writing the introduction of any literary work which you are writing, so we should provide the thesis purpose in the introduction. we should provide the purpose of your writing in the introduction. Because when your readers, they come to know what is the purpose of your writing. Is this chapter or is this paragraph or is this book which you are writing, is it persuasive in nature? Is it informative in nature? Is it entertaining in nature? Or is it educating in nature? Or is it going to educate us? So when your when your readers come to know about the purpose of your text, there are more chances that you will see there is better involvement of readers in your text. For example, I don't want to read a text which is based on entertainment. Now you have written a text which is based on entertainment and I come to know about it in the introduction. I will give up the text, because if I read it, that will be of no use, and I cannot read it very clearly, because I don't have any interest in entertainment. Now when you are clearly stating the purpose, and I am a person who loves to read some stuff on entertainment, and when I see in the introduction, you clearly mentioned in your introduction, the book is entertaining in nature. It's going to entertain you. There are certain stories, certain incidents extracted or included in this text which will entertain you, which will help you to get some sort of amusement and some sort of joy from this text. So when this whole thing is stated in the introduction itself, when it is included in the introduction itself, that means your readers can easily and they can voluntarily take your text and read it up to the end, because you have clearly mentioned the purpose of your writing. For example, I have given an example. This essay explores the impact of climate change on biodiversity and argues for urgent global action to address environmental concerns. See, if you add like this in your essay or in your introduction, this sentence clearly indicates what is the purpose of the essay. It explores the impact of climate change on biodiversities. So you come to know the upcoming paragraphs or upcoming text which comes after the introduction, that's about climate change on biodiversity, and it will also talk about global action to address environmental concerns. So it's always important for every writer to include the thesis statement or purpose of his writing or purpose of writing that text in your introduction, so that your readers may get to know at the very earliest what they are going to read about. Then, outline the structure. Your structure is like a road map which tells your readers what to expect in the upcoming sections. Structure. So when you are writing any written text, when you are writing any stuff, so it's always better to include the structure in your introduction. I'd like to just quote example first, then I'll just give you the elaboration. For example, in the following paragraphs, we will examine the historical context, current challenges, and potential solutions related to renewable energy adaptation. So if your introduction is like this, which tells that in the following paragraphs, we will be examining or we will examine historical context, number 1 point, current challenges, number 2 key point, potential solutions, number 3 point. So this is a kind of structure. Now your readers, when you write your introduction like this, your readers, they get a road map. Yes, first I will have to read historical context, then current challenges, then potential solutions related to renewable energy adaptation. That's why outlining the structure is must, and it should be done in introduction only. Because your introduction, I told you, there are people who will read your introduction only. So if there are people reading your introduction only, they should get the clear idea what is the whole chapter about, what is the whole written material about. So this can be done when you write your introduction like this, when you construct your introduction like this, when you frame your introduction like this. Then next point is pose a question. We can start introduction, or we can make our introduction more compelling or more attractive by posing a question. It is like stimulate curiosity by posing a thought-provoking question. Now, when you are writing an introduction, for example, your topic may be anything, your content or your theme may be anything. It's always important for the writers to pose a question in the introduction, so that your readers will be spellbound to find the answer of that question in the whole text. And the question should be of common interest, general interest. It should not be a question which is applicable to a particular section of the society. That means the context is only for the particular section of the society. So that should not be the case with your introduction. Your introduction should contain a general question, a common question, which should be addressing the whole humanity, common masses, so that you can make your introduction compelling. For example, what if we could harness the power of renewable energy sources to not only meet our current needs but also ensure a sustainable future for generations to come? See, there is a question has been raised, like what if we could harness the power of renewable energy sources? So if we start our introduction, or if we include a question like this in our introduction would be a compelling or an effective introduction. Define terms if necessary. If there is any term or any condition, it's always better to define it in the introduction. If there are any terms and conditions, it's always better to define them in introduction. So as I told you, if your topic it contains any terms and concepts or conditions, it's better to just briefly define them so that you can bring clarity in your context. Now, if there is any term and condition, you are not defining it in the advance or in the introduction. In the later part of your written text, the readers may find your text very confusing text. They may give up on, or they may just neglect your text. They may not read it well. Then the next point is create a smooth transition. So when you are finishing your introduction, now you are switching to the main body. So you should not finish your introduction in a way as if there is no connection between introduction and body. No. Smooth transition. When you are switching from introduction to main body, the reader should feel as there is a smooth transition. It's not like introduction was talking about some other concept and now body is about some other concept. No. There should be a smooth transition so that a reader must not feel that the introduction and body, they are two different parts. Rather, a reader should feel that the introduction is the part of the body and body is following the introduction. That is what I mean by smooth transitions. The last sentence of the introduction, it should lead seamlessly into the first sentence of the body. The last sentence of the introduction, it should lead the reader to the first sentence of the next paragraph. So when you finish the introduction, obviously now you will be taking a new paragraph from the body. So there should be a connection between the last sentence of introduction and the first sentence of the next paragraph. That is what we call as smooth transition. Smooth transition can only be initiated or can only be given to a text when there is the smooth connection between the last sentence of the introduction and the first sentence of the upcoming paragraph. Then conclusion. Now we are having some key terms about conclusion. How can we make our conclusion more compelling? Like, conclusion summarizes the key points. Your whole argument, all your arguments which you have presented in the whole chapter or in the whole written text, they can be summed up or can be presented or can be summarized in the conclusion. See, an example is here for the conclusion, like, in summary, our analysis of healthcare system reveals the need for comprehensive reforms in order to improve accessibility and affordability. So your conclusion should provide the summary of the whole context which you have elaborated before or above. It should provide the summary. Because I told you there may be many readers Lot of readers are there who will read only your conclusion. So your conclusion should do justice with the whole content. How can your conclusion do justice? How can it do the justice with the text? So it is justices if it summarizes the key points and if it sums up the whole claim of the written material. That is what an exact conclusion is. Then recitate the thesis. Remind readers of the central purpose. So it is your conclusion. It should remind your readers at the end. It should remind your readers the main purpose of your writing. Why did you wrote the topic? So it should remind your readers. It should do that a kind of recitate. It should recitate the purpose. So in conclusion, the example is the evidence suggests that implementing strict regulation is crucial to mitigating the adverse effects of climate change on coastal communities. So it provides a kind of solution to the climate change. So we see in this conclusion, we are providing a kind of remedy to the climate change. Same is the case when you are writing a conclusion to any write-up or any written content. So your conclusion should recitate the thesis. It should talk about the central thesis or central point which you have discussed in the whole content, so that you can reach to the conclusion, or so that your readers can understand, yes, the upcoming or the above content, not upcoming, but the above content must have been written or must contain these ideas. Then offer a solution to call to action. It should offer a solution or it should provide a call to action. It should provide a solution or suggest a course of action for the reader. So your conclusion should provide you a suggestion, or it should suggest a course of action, or it should provide a solution. Conclusions always provide solution. Conclusions provide solution to the above claim which you have elaborated in the above content. Or it suggests a course of action. It suggests a course of action. For example, you talked about some problem in the whole content. Now your conclusion, it talks about the solution, about the action. For example, there is an example. To address the challenges discussed, it is imperative that policymakers prioritize investment in sustainable infrastructure and promote eco-friendly practices. Now there is an action. It offers a solution, this conclusion, and it is calling for an action that policymakers should prioritize investment in sustainable infrastructure and should promote eco-friendly practices. So this is what do I mean by offer a solution. Your conclusion should offer a solution so that the readers can easily understand that the whole content is based on this problem and there is the conclusion or call to action. So that your readers can come to know in the smaller conclusion that what should we do in order to avoid, or in order to just move on, or in order to just cope up with the problem which you discussed in your written content. Circle back to the introduction. Now, reference or echo a point made in the introduction to create cohesion. It's always important that you reference or echo to a point made in the introduction, which you made it's always better to reference to that point or call that point once again, which you raised in the introduction, so that you can create a cohesion in your writing, so that your writing may not feel or may not look like that introduction was about something else and conclusion is about something else. So I mean the question which you raised in the introduction, the problem statement which you introduced in the introduction, the argument which you raised in the introduction, that should be recitated in the conclusion along with the solution or along with the answer. So returning to our initial question about the global population. We talked about global population in one of the previous slides regarding introduction. Now, if the paragraph is about that, the conclusion should be like this. Returning to our initial question about the global population, it's clear that innovative solutions are needed to ensure a balanced and secure future for all. So when you reference the initial statement which you raised in the introduction, it creates a sense of cohesion in your writing. It gives a feeling that the whole paragraph or the whole write-up, it is a unique whole. It's a single written content. It shows that there is a connection between introduction, body, and conclusion. And it shows that this conclusion is the output of the introduction. Then end with a strong closing statement. We can end up all the conclusions by a strong closing statement. It's always better to leave a lasting impression by crafting a powerful closing statement. When you are writing conclusions, try to find out a sentence, try to find out a statement, try to use a statement which will leave a lasting impression on the mind of the reader. When your reader closes the book, reaches the last sentence of the paragraph, of the book, this sentence should be such a sentence which can lay a lasting impression on the mind of the reader. Like an example is there, as we navigate the complexities of the digital age, embracing ethical considerations and fostering a culture of inclusivity, so will be key to shaping a future where technology serves humanity rather than the other way around. So as I told you, it's always better that we conclude a paragraph by a closing statement which is having a lasting impression on the minds of the reader. Then address the so what questions. Your conclusion should address the so what questions. Like, it should clearly articulate the broader implications or significance of your work. It should explain why your topic matters and how it contributes to the larger conversation. So it should not be like, so what? Okay, I discussed this topic, so what? So this question should be answered by our conclusion, so that it can articulate the broader implication or significance of your work. And it can explain why I have chosen the topic and how it contributes to a larger conversation. Consider the future. Now, what is this consider the future? So, speculate on potential future development or implication related to your topic. Pose questions that encourage continued thought. When you are writing a conclusion, this doesn't mean now nothing will be written on the topic now. It never means that. It's not like that now nothing can be written on the topic. Your conclusion should always be like that. It should leave some more space for other people to continue your reading, for other people to continue your conversation, or for yourself to again just stretch it to the other extent. So that's for that reason you need to consider the future. You need to sometimes to end up your conclusion with such a question, so that other people who want to write after you can extend the topic to another level. And circle back to introduction. I told you it's appropriate to reference an idea or theme if it is appropriate. So you can reference that when you are writing the conclusion. Now there is another point is importance of introduction. What is the importance of introduction? The first thing which I want to tell you about importance of introduction is engagement and attention. An effective introduction captures the reader's attention. It's important. Introduction is important because it captures the attention of your audience, of your readers from the start. And it provides a hook or an interesting element to engage the audience. It provides an interesting beginning to your written content, so that it can engage your audience till they finish the whole content. Establishing relevance. Introduction is important because it establishes relevance. It sets the stage by providing context and background information. So it is your introduction which sets the stage. How? By providing background information. It helps the reader understand why the topic is relevant or important. Your reader can know the relevance of your topic. Why is it important when he or she reads your introduction? Guiding the reader. So by outlining the purpose and scope of the writing, the introduction guides the reader when you are writing the purpose or when you are writing the scope of your writing. So in that sense, you are writing introduction or your introduction, it just guides the reader on what to expect from the next paragraphs. So it serves as a roadmap for the entire piece of writing. Then thesis statement. The introduction typically includes a thesis statement, which is concise summary of the main argument or purpose of the work. The statement helps focus readers' attention. Your introduction is important because it contains thesis statement. It includes like the purpose of the writing, the main argument, and it contains a concise summary. What is the main argument? Why you are writing this topic? What is the purpose behind this? So this statement, it helps readers to focus. It helps focus the reader's attention. It helps readers to focus their attention on your written content. Creating interest and curiosity. A well-crafted introduction, it sparks curiosity. It sparks this curiosity in the mind of the reader. It generates interest in the reader. This curiosity encourages them to continue reading. So your introduction, it increases or it sparks a curiosity in the mind of reader. It is because of this curiosity, the readers, they start reading your content. So it's for this reason introduction is important. And it is important because it establishes credibility. It allows the author to establish the credibility or his expertise on the topic. So it's the introduction by which a person or a reader comes to know about the credibility, about the expertise of the author regarding that concept which he or she is discussing with the help of that written content. Now the importance of conclusion. Summarizing key points. The conclusion is also important. Why? Because it summarizes the key points. And to summarize the key points at the end of any written work is very important. Because your readers, they want to know you, they want to understand everything. So when you are providing them a summary at the end of a literary work or at the end of a written work, there are chances that they can take away something from your written stuff. And they will remember it for all the time. There are chances that it will remain in their long-term memory. And it reinforces the key ideas. So summarizing the key points in the conclusion, it strengthens the key ideas. Providing closure. A conclusion provides closure to readers. It provides a closure to the readers. It signals that the discussion or argument is coming to an end. It is your conclusion which lets a person know that the argument is now coming to an end. It signals the conclusion. It gives a sense of completeness. It's your conclusion which gives a sense of completeness to your thought. So your thought is incomplete without conclusion, without this summarization. So it is conclusion which completes your thought. Reinforcing thesis. By revisiting the thesis statement, when you revisit the thesis statement in the conclusion, or your conclusion is it revisits the thesis statement. So by doing that, it reinforces the main argument or purpose of the writing. It helps leave a lasting impression. So your conclusion reinforces thesis, and when you do so, a reader gets a lasting impression, or it leaves a lasting impression in the mind of the reader about the main argument which you have stated in the whole content. highlighting significance. The conclusion emphasizes the significance of the work. So conclusion is they highlight the significance of the work. So because it answers the so what questions, it explains why you have written the topic. It explains why the topic matters and what broader implications it may have. So it is your conclusion that highlights the significance of your whole written content. And encouraging action. So in certain types of writing, the conclusion may include a call to action, encouraging readers to think, act, and explore further. So every written work is not complete in itself. And we cannot complete, like if I have written anything, it's complete, it cannot be altered, it cannot be stretched, it cannot be extended. That would be a foolish claim. And that is the business of like these poor writers, immature writers or green writers. So your conclusion should leave something, it should give more space to others to research on it, to stretch it, to write something more on it. And it should encourage the action. Okay, the person has written this thing. I want to take you to the further extent. I want to add this thing to it. I want to add more stuff to it. So this is what we call as encouraging action. So when we include this encouraging action, so by doing this, the conclusion, it may include a call to action, and it encourages readers to think, act, or explore further. By doing this, the readers, they start thinking on your written content, and they want to take it to the further extent. Then we have closing the loop. Now, what is closing the loop? It may reference elements from the introduction, creating a sense of symmetry and cohesion in the writing. This technique helps bring the reader full circle. Closing the loop. You must have raised a question in the introduction. So you must have started an argument in the introduction. You must have started the argument with a claim in the introduction. And when you reference that claim in the conclusion and provide a solid and concrete question, so you will see your reader remains spellbound. So the significance or importance of conclusion is this. It's like closing the loop. The things which you raised in the beginning, you are closing them in the conclusion. You are just finishing them in the conclusion. So it is a circle of communication. And this technique, it brings the reader full circle. Means it makes the reader, or it helps the reader to understand or to satisfy his curiosities, his questions, which he is coming up or which he is cherishing right from the introduction. Then we have leaving a lasting impression. Your conclusion leaves a lasting impression on your mind. Lasting impression. Because we all know the conclusions, they contain summary. Or sometimes we conclude the sentences with certain statements which have the power to throw some impression on the minds of the readers. So I would like to say conclusion is important. It is significant in every writing because it leaves a lasting impression in the mind of the readers. A reader when he or she finishes a written content, when he goes through the conclusion, there are chances he may miss or he may skip or he may forget something from the conclusion. He or she may forget something from the body, from the explanations, from the references, from the examples, from the data, from different figures. But it is your conclusion, if it is a compact whole, if it is well structured, it has the power to throw some lasting impression on the minds of the readers. Like as I have written, the final words of a conclusion are what readers are likely to remember. The final words of the conclusion, because we are humans, we have this is in our habit, it's in our gene. We remember the last words of the conclusion of any statement of any conversation. So a strong closing statement leaves a lasting impression a strong closing statement. If you end up you are writing with a strong closing statement. Closing statement is strong. It supports your idea, it supports your thought. It favors your thought. It favors a claim which you raised in the introduction. So if you are supporting, if your last sentence is strong statement, there are chances that it will leave a lasting impression on the minds of the reader, and lasting impression, and reinforces the overall message. It's not the lasting impression, but rather it reinforces the overall message. It makes the overall message vivid, and it helps a reader to recap the whole message. This last sentence, it compels a reader to think about the whole message, or about the argument which you raised in your introduction. So this is all for this today. I would like to just have a quick glance what we did today. I gave you the introduction about introduction and writing conclusion. Then I talked about introduction. I said that we should start introductions with a hook. We should provide background information. Introductions provide background information. Introductions contain thesis, statement, or purpose. They outline the structure. They pose a question. They define terms if necessary. They create a smooth transition. Then I talked about conclusion. I said it summarizes the key points, restates the thesis, offer a solution or call to action, circle back to the introduction. They end with a strong closing statement. They address the sobert questions. They consider the future and circle back to introduction. Then I talked about importance of introduction. Introduction is important because it engages, because it is important for engagement and attention, establishing relevance. It guides the reader. It provides a thesis statement. It creates interest and curiosity in the reader, and it establishes the credibility of the content. Conclusion is important because it summarizes the key points. It provides proper closure. It reinforces the thesis statement. It highlights the significance of the content. It encourages action. It closes all the loops, and it leaves a lasting impression on the minds of the reader. This is all for today. If you want extra information on this lecture, you can consult these sources. They'll help you to get something helpful for the topic. So this is all for today. I would like to stop here. Thank you for listening carefully.
Like, share and subscribe. Hit the bell icon for more updates.